But then comes the magic. Listen carefully. Within the 24 there are 12 energies, and that is when you have to do the hard work, for they pair up to create coherence in phase. Within the 24 are 12 pairs that will work together perfectly. Look at what is going on, doctor, because all things important happen in pairs. Look at science and look at your own specialty. Look at the base pairs of DNA. It's a handshake of chemicals that never work alone. And you look at how many base pairs there are and you see the magic of the pairing up, the dance they do, the twists that happen, are the reality of pairs. You are looking at the same attributes with the sounds you are making. They were designed to be created in pairs. I wish to take you back in time. Only 30,000 years asterisk Limuria was still high, and the water had not yet come up. The bubble in the crust of the earth at the hotspot called Hawaii had not subsided. I take you into a stadium, Yawee. It is filled with almost 800 people. They are selected to be there, selected for their voices and their knowledge. I want to take you there to feel this. 400 are on one side facing the 400 on the other side. You, Yawee, are in the middle, and they are singing pairs of pineal tones, creating quantum magic. There will be 24 individually matched tones that pair to create 12 energies when sung together. This becomes a language, and that is why some of them are sound, some of them are buzzing, and some of them even seem like spitting. They are not any of those things, for the overtones are rich, like punctuation marks within the others which are sung in a tonality way. I want to show you something before I close, and before I tell you where you are going to do it and when. It is intuitive to the human being. There was a Lemurian who made a movie and many of you saw it, and his name was Steven Spielberg. Within the story, space creatures were called down from the sky with tones. Do you remember the movie? Now, do you remember what happened? Not only did they have tonal sequences which meant communications to those in the skies, but when they came down, they started playing the tones with each other. That is to say that one would play, and then the other would play, and then you had a duality, did you not? A duet. You had a pair of energies. And if you remember the film, and the intuition of the one who wrote it, it wasn't just sequences of tones. Instead, they became faster and faster and faster, did they not? This continued until they had one large lasting tone which was all-encompassing of the others. The Lemurian remembered, didn't he? That's what you are learning as well, and remembering. Does this sound familiar? Now, why would Lemurians sit 400 on one side, 400 on the other? It wouldn't matter if there were only 200 and 200, but why would they sit and tone together in these pairs that we tell you go together? Now I will tell you. Not only does it activate the DNA inside, it activates the Pleiadian part of the DNA. It activates that which is the most sacred seed given to you, human being, at the onset of that which you would call creation, which gave you the pieces and the parts in your DNA which could sing with God. It starts a process that is communication with the Creator's purpose. There is more I'll relate later. And where do you think would be a good place to perform this ceremony, Doctor? And when do you think it should be done? Hawaii is Lemuria, but Mount Shasta is closer to you. Either one will work, for the Pleiadians are within both. The time is December 21st, 2012. Within 1 year you will have 24 tones, which takes you to Deck of 2012. You can have a meeting and you can sing the pairs. I will again say to you that a good place would be where the Lemurians decided to live in Mount Shasta. The best place, however, would be on the mountain of Lemuria, Hawaii. Sometimes Shasta is difficult for humans in winter. So I'll just tell you, wherever you do it, they'll be there. Get as close as you can. Now these things are only suggestions, but I know you'll do it. Laughter. Because you have done everything else that Spirit has asked you and you've done it well. Kryon smile. So this is the truth of the tones you've studied. Like the clarinetist, you've just learned the 12 by themselves. Now you are about ready to join the orchestra, and pair them with 12 more. The doctor will put them together, and many of you will sit in the orchestra. Doctor, when you start putting them together, you will know that I am right. And how will you know which ones go with which ones? Yawee, you already do. The twist master knows how to twist them, which ones go with which ones. It will be his intuition, his Akashic remembrance, that will be there to create the magic which he started years ago, creating and singing them one at a time, just like the clarinet player. And I see it happening, and many of you will be there. And so it is. The Lemurian timing might be confusing for some, since there are several seeming timelines that Kryon has given. But they are not conflicting. In general, Kryon says the seeds of the Pleiadians were planted in our DNA about 100,000 years ago. It took another 50,000 for us to emerge as one kind of human race instead of the many kinds we had before. This observation of many kinds of humans disappearing about 100,000 years ago has been validated by Scientific American, and the question has been asked in science, where did all the variety go, and why? Even science has noticed. So now we are at 50,000 years ago mark, and that's when there is a variance. For it took another 20,000 or 30,000 years to bring Limuria together. This seems very slow, but that's the way humans evolve, through generations of learning. Also note that history shows that the further back you go, the slower things appear to move in societal change. The children take the lead and then theirs do the same. So it took many generations to begin to build one of the first and most long-lasting societies in human history, isolated and in a place that science and geology say it couldn't have been. But the story remains, and Kryon has never vacillated from it. So at approximately 30,000 years ago, we have the beginning of the Limuria we speak of, and 26,000 years ago was as created. This means that it was at its peak, and Yawee is there. This timeline also corresponds to the last time the galactic alignment was centered, or the wobble of the Earth was at the starting point. It's a 26,000-year wobble called precession. Also note something small, but a point that many have asked about. When Spirit speaks of a specific day, such as the equinox, where on Earth is that? Earth is always in 2 days, so how do we know what the reference point is? The answer from Kryon was given only 2 times so far, once in Sedona, and once in Montreal, both in 2011. He says, the center point in time for the planet is not in London. That was developed for maritime reasons. He speaks of the GMT, or now called UT. It instead resides in Lemuria, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which you now call Hawaii. Lee Carroll.